So coming into our first practice, you might like to close the eyes or hold a soft gaze. And bringing your attention into the body. And we're going to take our time to settle in here. So we're going to bring a very small amount of movement into the body. This is optional, so just working with what feels comfortable for you today, what feels okay. And the invitation here is whatever movement comes into the body, and even if it's just noticing the movement of the breath in the body, we're just going to do our best here to really bring our awareness to the sensations as the body moves. So if it feels good for you, I'm just going to invite you to, we're just going to bring a few shoulder rolls in, but we're going to do this very slowly. So just squeezing the shoulders forward. And as you do so, just really noticing the sensations, maybe that stretch across the back, stretch in the shoulder blades. Very gently, just doing as much as you want here. And then once the shoulders feel kind of stretched forward enough to a point that's comfortable, we're just going to sort of carry on that roll up towards the ears. So rolling the shoulders up towards the ears, and again, just really slowly. Really feeling into that movement. It might be that the shoulders and arms suddenly feel very heavy. And then just taking a moment to squeeze the shoulders, again, just to a point that's comfortable, up to the ears, and then just feel into the body. You might notice that your breath has changed. What's happening in the chest, the back, the arms, and then very slowly rolling the shoulders back, feeling a little tug in the muscles there, stretching the shoulders back, slowly letting them sink down. You might feel the shoulder blades sinking down at the back of the body there. Again, noticing what's happening with the arms, with your breathing. And then relaxing the shoulders, the arms, and just notice how that feels in the body. Is there a sense of opening up in the shoulders? And then we'll reverse that just to see what it feels like. So now we're going to bring that stretch across the front of the body as we pull the shoulders back. So just feeling you might be engaging the arms here just to bring the shoulders back. And then we're going to slowly roll the shoulders up to the ears. So you might feel the shoulder blades coming up the back of the body. Squeezing the shoulders to the ears. Again, just pausing, feeling into the body. If it starts to feel uncomfortable, just carry on the movement. Don't strain the body. And then we'll just slowly start to bring the shoulders forward. Noticing the muscles engaging. Noticing what's happening in the back. And then just very slowly allowing the shoulders to roll back down, back into their sort of usual position. And then just taking a moment just to sit tall. And then relaxing the shoulders. And just noticing what that feels like. You might take a bigger breath. And then we're just going to move the head a little. I just want you to imagine that the point of your nose is going to draw a line to the right, as if you're going to then look over your right shoulder. And again, just going as far as what feels comfortable. Feeling that position, feeling maybe a slight stretch in the neck. And then on the next breath in, coming back to center. Pausing here. Really listening into the body. And then we're going to draw a line with the nose to the left-hand side, or whichever is the other side for you. And looking over the other shoulder. Just pausing at a point that feels enough, just enough to feel a slight stretch in the neck, enough that it feels nice. And then on the next breath in, coming back to center. Might take a bigger breath in and out, just following whatever the body needs to do with the breath. Just pausing here for a moment. And then engaging your hands this time, and there's some options here. You could bring your hands into the prayer position, placing them at the chest, or maybe placing both hands one on top of the other onto the chest. So whatever feels comfortable here for you. Just a little prayer pose, or both hands on the chest. And then what we're going to do is bow the head to the hands. So bowing the head to the heart. So bringing the head forward. And again, just going as far as what feels comfortable. And just feeling that lovely stretch in the back of the neck. And And then on your next breath in, using your body to help you lift up the head again, releasing the hands, and once more pausing and listening in. And then just to counteract that bend, we're not going to necessarily tip the head backwards, but if you just bring an extra little lift into the upper body, lifting up the sternum to the sky, and then just lifting the chin ever so slightly, just kind of having the sense of opening up in the front of the body, but just being careful not to crunch in the back of the neck. So we're kind of lifting more than bending, with a gentle sort of lift up to the sky. And then coming back to center. Pausing here, listening into the body. And then another invitation, if it feels good for you, is to take one hand, so maybe taking your right hand and then placing it on your left shoulder, and just gently squeezing the muscles here. So you're giving your shoulder a little massage and taking it really slowly here so you can really feel into each squeeze, each movement. If you can relax the shoulder, gentle squeezes, you can move up the neck, back down to the shoulder. Keep breathing. Nice gentle squeezes, little rubs. Feeling into what the body needs. So if there's a particular area that feels tight, maybe spending a little longer there. You could turn them just into gentle strokes, gentle squeezes. And then gently replacing your hand in your lap. Again, just taking a moment to pause, feeling into the arms, the hands, the shoulders. Noticing your breathing. And then the invitation is to do the same the other side. So taking your other hand, gently placing it on the shoulder. And whenever you feel ready, just gently squeezing the muscles. Gentle rub. Finding what feels good. Paying particular attention to a special area, if that's particularly knotty, particularly tight. Keep breathing. And really noticing any kind of pleasantness about it. You might move the shoulder, the arm, just to feel into it a bit more. Whatever you need to do here. Really noticing the movements of your hand, the fingers. Noticing the connection, the contact. Okay. And then whenever you're ready here, just releasing the arm and the hand back down to your lap. Perhaps taking a big breath in, steady breath out. And again, pausing here. And just taking a moment to notice the whole body. Noticing your feet, your legs. Noticing your pelvis, your hips. Noticing your waist, your torso, the back and the front of the body. Noticing the shoulders, the arms and the hands. Noticing the neck, the head and the face. Bringing a small but real smile to the mouth. And feeling your whole body resting here. Okay. Being aware of your breathing. So in this next part of the session, we're going to move into a period of me sharing some words with you. So you may choose to stay in a meditation posture. You may have the breath as your anchor, or another part of the body, or perhaps my voice for this moment. You may also choose to bring some movement in here, take a break from your posture. You can choose to stand, take a moment to stretch. So just checking in with whatever it is you need in this moment. And once I've shared these words with you, we'll move into a second practice. So I was inspired by a mini retreat that I attended on Saturday, and this retreat was on, the topic was freedom from craving. And it was really very interesting. And sometimes we might link craving with addiction. But I think what became clear is that we all experience craving, and it's not necessarily linked to addiction in the typical sense that we might understand addiction, as in relating to, say, drugs and alcohol. But maybe for another topic, there is a sense that we're all addicts in some form or another. But I won't go down that route today necessarily. But so it's just kind of touching in with this sense of craving. So it's about this sense of wanting. And it's very interesting because I attended this retreat, and I was very interested by the topic. And then yesterday I ended up reading a little section from Rick Hanson's Buddha Brain, which kind of answered the questions, as in helped me make sense of why we crave, why we are wanting. So I'm going to share some of that with you now. And part of it comes from the sense that our systems inside our brain and bodies are always trying to be in balance. So we're sort of trying to balance conflicting needs. So we're trying to maintain and interact with our external environment. We're also trying to maintain an interaction with our internal world. So, a very simple kind of example there is if we're, say, too hot or too cold. And we will have messages sent from our brain, often the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system, and many other parts of the brain, that will tell us if we need to do something to adjust how we are. So most of the time our systems are balancing completely below our awareness, our consciousness. And so a lot of it's just happening without our awareness. But occasionally there'll be something that bubbles up into our consciousness. And it's these examples. So if our body gets too cold, or if we get too hot, then our brain is alerting us to make us take action to rectify the balance. So generally, the experience signals in the body tend to be unpleasant by nature, because it's alerting us to something that we need to do. So something's not right. We get sent these signals and we feel unpleasant, and we need to restore the equilibrium so that things don't go too badly wrong. We don't get too cold to the point of hypothermia, and we don't get too hot to the point of, our blood pressure changing and passing out maybe. So these signals and signs will come to us. Sometimes they'll come to us softly, and we might feel a sense of uneasiness. Oh, something's not right. We know, don't we? I mean, I've just put my cardigan back around my shoulders because I can feel a chill in my arms. So there's a slightly unpleasant sensation, and I've kind of taken some action to try and balance the states, and so that I feel more comfortable, feel more pleasant. So it also might come with a very loud alarm, a sense of panic even. So however it comes, the signals are mobilizing our brain to do whatever it takes to get back in balance. So this mobilization comes with feelings of craving. So this is where the sense of craving comes in. So it can be a quiet longing, or it can be a desperate sense of compulsion, and anything in between. So interestingly, in the early language of Buddhism, which is Pali, the word that's used for craving is tanha. And the root of tanha means thirst. So it's this thirst that conveys this kind of visceral power of threat signals. And what's interesting, I suppose, is in our culture today, is that even these threat signals can happen even when it has nothing to do with saving life or limb, but maybe just the possibility of being rejected. So it's starting to fit in with our survival mechanism. Our survival mechanism starts to kind of be activated in relation to our social sense, our interactions, our sense of belonging. And of course, these threat signals are unpleasant, and generally we may suffer because of them. Sometimes a little, sometimes a lot, and generally we want them to stop. As I say, even if it's feeling a slight chill in my arms, and just I want it to stop, so I put my cardigan on, or we put another blanket. So the craving is directly linked to these underlying threat signals that something is out of balance and we need to do something in order to make them stop. So the reason I find this helpful is because, again, when we often think of craving, we might think of this sense of wanting and desire as though it's all about greed, maybe. But if we come back to the words I've just shared here, that craving is very much a physiological issue. It's something that's happening naturally within us, time and time again, over and over throughout the day. And occasionally the threat signals stop, as long as each system stays in balance. But since life and the world is constantly changing, then there are endless disturbances to our sense of equilibrium. And it makes me think of a previous session we did maybe a while ago, when I was using the word balancing instead of balance. So rather than maybe trying to achieve a sense of balance, a state of balance, is actually more coming to terms that we're constantly balancing. And so there's a constant shifting state. And I think, generally speaking, we find it very hard to keep in this, constant shift. Partly because our brain is trying to impose a sort of a stasis and order over everything that actually is inherently unstable. So it's kind of tricky to make sense of that. So we often refer to our breath as this ever-changing state in terms of this sense of breathing in, breathing out. It's constantly altering, it's changing, dispersing, disappearing. And the true nature of things is that everything changes. Whether it's our outer reality or our inner experience. So in a sense, there's no end to a disturbed equilibrium as long as we live. So what's very interesting about this is that to help us survive, our brain keeps trying to stop everything and make it hold still. It's kind of, the brain is struggling to hold these dynamic systems in place. It's trying to make fixed patterns and construct permanent plans. So consequently, our brain is forever chasing after the moment that has just passed. We're constantly trying to understand it. We're constantly trying to control it. So the brain is forever clutching at what has just happened to try and make sense of it. And I think this is where sometimes that kind of sense of rumination comes in, because the brain is constantly going over it again, trying to make sense of what's happened. So it sounds like we're kind of in a pretty tough place when it comes to this sense of understanding craving or being with it. But I think for me, what this sort of information helps with is making sense of it and understanding that whatever state we're in or wherever we're at with it, it's not our fault. It's the way we are physiologically, and it's the way our brain is trying to make sense of things. So it's just very curious, I think, to see how the brain, as part of its survival, for us as a species, is trying to sort of hold everything still, when the natural sense of everything is the opposite of that. So how do we deal with that? Is the big question. Well, I guess there's no sort of hard, fast answer. But certainly with our mindfulness practice, it can help. So first of all, it's having an awareness, which we're just kind of creating there, with having that information. It can just sort of raise a sense of, oh, I see, I understand, I get it. Another thing we can do is kind of notice when we are wanting something, or maybe the easiest thing, I'm not sure which way round, maybe both, but is to recognize when there's a sense of unease, whether it's big or little. Recognizing that sense of unease, and whether that unease equates to suffering. And then it's recognizing in that moment, wow, there's some suffering here. There's some suffering here. I wonder what it is that I'm wanting. I wonder what it is I'm craving. And it could be something very simple, like cold, hot, hungry, thirsty, tired, all of those, states that we need to have a sense of balance about as well in taking care of ourselves. But there also might be some thoughts. Do I have a wish for things to be different? Do I have a desire for things to have changed, to have stopped, to have come to me, to have gone away? And then another thing we can do, again with our practice, is notice moments of pleasantness in the here and now. And so really touching in with a sense of joy and contentment in the moment by going, oh yeah, that feels nice. And not holding on to it, but allowing it to move on and noticing the next pleasant moment. So let's move into a practice now just to experiment with some of that. And just as we do, if you need to just take a moment to shift your posture, if you want to change posture, if you need to take a moment to stretch or stand and stretch, just doing so until you bring yourself into a comfortable and fairly settled position. And whenever you're ready, you might like to close the eyes or hold a soft gaze. Bringing your attention into your body. Maybe just taking a moment to move your attention through the body. And as you bring your attention to different parts of the body, is just to invite the body to soften. So we might do that around the head, the face, perhaps softening around the eyes, softening the cheeks, softening through the neck, through the shoulders, softening through the arms, the hands and the fingers. Softening through the front of the body, just to allow for the natural wave of the breath. Softening through the back of the body. Softening through the waist, the pelvis. Softening through the legs, all the way down to the feet. And then perhaps choosing an anchor for your practice. You might like to choose the breath, maybe at the nostrils or the belly, or the whole body. Or if the breath is not working for you today, maybe bringing your attention to your hands or your feet, maybe even sounds. Taking a moment to rest your attention on whichever anchor you have chosen. So for the first part of this practice, the invitation here is to notice if any unease comes into the body or the mind. And just seeing if that unease is related to wanting something to be different. So just as an example, something for me is noticing the coolness and noticing a desire for my body to be warmer. And as we rest here for a moment, just using the anchor to keep you present, it may be that thoughts come into your mind. Maybe a sense of something urgent, something about planning, ruminating over something that's happened. Just noticing when that happens, what are you wanting? What's the craving? So we'll just spend a few moments with this, noticing unease, noticing any wanting or craving. And at any point, if you find the mind getting lost in the story, just knowing that that happens and it's okay, and using your anchor, bringing your attention back there, and becoming aware again. Any unease, any sense of wanting. If you're noticing any unease or sense of wanting, you can always bring in some gentle compassion. Just recognizing this is a moment of suffering. Placing a hand anywhere on the body that feels warm, reassuring. we're going to let go of any noticing of unease or wanting. The invitation here is to take a nice big breath in, nice steady breath out, and we'll gently shift into the second part of the practice. So just to begin with, just having a sense of your whole body, having a sense of yourself breathing. You might bring a gentle smile upon the mouth. And then I invite you to gently scan through the body and notice when you notice a pleasant sensation. This might be noticing some warmth somewhere in the body, a really comfortable spot, a feeling of ease. There might be a pleasant sound. It might be just the sensations of the breath. So allowing yourself to notice these pleasant sensations as they happen. And importantly, seeing if you can allow yourself to really enjoy it. Just allowing your attention to keep wandering and moving around the body or to sounds. Maybe there's even a pleasant image that comes up in your mind. Just allowing yourself to really notice it, really feel it, and to really enjoy it. If the mind gets distracted, that's okay. Just bringing it back gently with kindness and compassion. Allowing your attention to settle on any pleasant sensation, sound. So wherever your attention is, bringing it to rest on your breathing, feeling the inflow of the in-breath and the release of the out-breath. And gradually we'll bring this practice to a close. And we'll take our time to shift from the practice. We might bring some gentle movement into the body, wiggling the fingers, wiggling the toes. Opening the eyes when you feel ready. Taking a moment to stretch. Okay, wonderful. So thank you for your practice. I think the key sort of elements here is that craving always exists because it's the part of the way we're made up. Because of that, there's going to be suffering, but we can have an awareness of this. And I think what our practice can show us is that if we're able to enjoy the small moments and experience more contentment, then potentially we'll crave less because we'll have this sense of being more in the moment with what's pleasant. Of course, there'll be times when there's unpleasant feelings, but I think in either way, what can also support us is knowing that everything's impermanent. And so whatever state we're in, we know it's going to shift again at some point. And I think our practice can help us feel a sense of steadiness with that and help us ride the shifts and the waves so that we can have this sense of balancing in each moment. Okay, so thank you there.